Welcome, everyone. We are live. It's Wednesday. Should be, at least, I think it is. And we are live. We're live on Twitter. We're live on Fanbase. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Only mental. The universe is mental. The all is mind. What does it mean? It means you can forget where you are. You can forget what time of day it is. You can forget where you've gone. You can forget what you've done. Funny thing is, you cannot forget that you are. Oh, you are. I am. So mentally, you are always aware of yourself. Mentally, that's all there is. We talk about mental health all day, every day. But do we even recognize what it means? Mental health, you understand, we it is all there is. If your perceptions, wherever your perceptions are, meaning whatever you believe about yourself, those are the types of experiences you will have. It's it is what it is right there. I remember someone said to me, the reason I love the law so much is because it doesn't change. It can be perceived as rigid, unyielding. And that way you don't, there's no nuance, there's no in between, there's no interpretation. It just is what it is. I love that kind of stability. Yes, I do. Right? I do. Some even say, but that's so cold. I'm like, you you want the law to be wishy-washy? You want the law to look at you and say, well, you know what? Today you were such a good boy. Let me reward you. But tomorrow, I'll take something back. No, it just is what it is. But you are the one with your awareness, right? It's your awareness. That's what the law will follow because it follows that pathway. It is what it is, and it follows that pathway and it doesn't change. So if your mentality is kind of shady and you're like, well, I'm not good enough, who your experiences, you will behave as though you are not good enough because you believe it. You hold it to be true. And here's the thing, we hold it to be true and we don't want to let go of it. Not because we are bad people, not because we're lazy, but because of the habit of holding on. You see, somebody said, I'm trying to remember verbatim what they said about the law. Something about the law sucks. And I'm like, dude, man, if you could just see that you're in a habitual way of thinking, in a habitual way of doing things, you've set yourself free. Do you know why? Because when you look at your behavior and you see that you're only behaving by way of a habit, you can free yourself from that habit by making a more desirable habit. This is what we do day in and day out. So the next time you catch yourself saying, oh my God, I can't do this, this is too hard, remember, it's a habit. It is a habit. And the habit, right? The habit can change. You can change your habits. You're not trapped by them. You just have to recognize that that's what you're doing. Because if you recognize that that is what you're doing, being led and guided by your habits, you won't be hopeless anymore. You won't feel like, oh, how am I going to get through? You won't feel like that anymore. But you'll look at your situation and go, wait a minute. The situations will always change. And they'll change to match my perspective, my habitual way of thinking. And you will feel a sense of what? Relief, for one. You'll feel a sense of excitement, for two. For three, you'll say, wait a minute. I know how to do a habit. I just choose either the thought, the word, or the action. We're going to slip something in there. We're going to slide this in there. Feeling. The thought, the feeling, the word, the behavior, the action. That's what we're going to slide in there now. Right? You'll recognize that those are the things that you practice and you persist in. And when you recognize that you can be persistent because you already are being persistent, you'll stop saying things like, oh my God, I really can't follow through on these things. It's so hard to change. You'll stop saying that because then you will look at your life and you will say, wait a minute, that's a habit. And that's a habit. Well, I am not trapped. I can free myself. You see why it's only mental? The way you look at it, the way you perceive things. That's all you're doing. You're just looking at the thing, and remember, God acts and man reacts. So the way you think will cause you to do what? Think and feel. Whatever you're aware of, because you're only ever aware. But now what are you aware of? You've got to be aware first, and we always are aware. We are. And once you are aware of something, that thing that you are aware of is the thing that colors your judgment, colors your discernment. And sometimes that thing that you are aware of can make you feel like, well, I can't do this. I've been trying. It is not the trying. It's the recognition. Where's your mind at? What are you aware of? And if you don't know what you are aware of thinking, like where your thinking is at, look at your behavior. I'm simply showing you today that it doesn't matter, as they say in Barbados, you have a plaster for every sore. I told you this before. You got a bandage for every problem. Nah, don't make excuses. Recognize you are aware. The thing that you're doing, that's what you're aware of. Do you want to continue doing it? Or do you want to change? Well, two choices. Simple, right? But we complicate it. We throw our emotions in there because, well, we've practiced using a particular type of emotion. And we've practiced it so much that it's become this autopilot thing, and we just do it now. Pavlov and ringing the bell. That's what we've done to ourselves. But if you can remember, you can be programmed. That's the nature of man, to be programmed. So if you are programmable, choose the program that you want to run. You see, we are always in a position to be reminded that you are not a weakling. Yeah, you're not a weakling. You're not prisoner. Let me say it right. You're not a prisoner of your circumstances. You are not a prisoner of your circumstances. You are always the one walking with the keys to either free yourself or lock yourself up. You and I do that. How? By the way we think. Our awareness. What are you aware of doing incessantly over and over again? You see, that's the great news today. There's only mental. You see how beautiful of a thing it is? You know where you can always go to fix a problem. You got a problem? What's the solution? Mental. How so? How you see that thing. How you see that thing is how you were taught to see it, or how you conditioned yourself to see it. You see, when we look back at our childhood, we tend to either look back and say, oh my God, it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Or you look back and you say, well, that was incredible. Let's do it again. You know, you had a great childhood. Or you're somewhere in between. But when you look at your childhood, right? Don't look at it and find a way to beat yourself up. Look at it to see and discover what habit, or quote unquote, as the psychologist, psychiatrist would say, coping mechanisms that you developed. A coping mechanism is a program. Remember Pavlov. A situation happened, and usually these situations are highly emotional because you're a child. You don't know any better. You don't know how to reason as a child. You don't have discernment as a child. You just have pure raw emotion. And so something happened that was emotional. And because it happened and it just left an impression like a branding iron on your subconscious mind right away, you always seek, as the nature of man, to mitigate a crisis before it starts. But how? By past experience. So if the past thing hurt you really bad, you're going to have little feelers. Your spidey senses will tingle when something happens, and you'll say, oh, no, I've dealt with that before like this. I'll do it again like this, because that's what I know how to do. We all learned how to do something like that in our childhoods. So the key is this. When you look back at your childhood, do not look back at it for the sole purpose of whether it sucked or whether it was great. No, look back at it to see what type of habit or coping mechanism that you developed. Because listen, let me tell you something, Linda. What used to work for you then may not work for you now. And it is up to you to pay attention to it. Because that's how you'll know. Is this thing still working for you? Does this behavior that you used to do as a child? Remember, Paul said, when I was a child, I spake as a child. I behaved as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. So is that childlike behavior still working? You know, sometimes we throw temper tantrums. We say it to each other, man, why you gotta be so childish? If somebody says that to you, don't be insulted. Look at it and go, wait. Talk to yourself. You say, wait a minute. I did learn how to behave that way when I was a child, but I'm not a child anymore. There's a better way of dealing with this situation. What is that way? Think before I act. And you now can start to train yourself. Remember, Pavlov. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. You're tinkling that bell. How are you going to behave now? Well, you already know that you have been successful in the past at developing a behavior, a habit. You know because you're doing it. So you are successful. You weren't successful. You are successful. So to continue being successful, what habitual behavior? Would more discipline help you? Well, what is discipline? Just the habit. It's just the way you do things. Are you consistent? Yes, you are. So develop a new way of responding or code. Listen, as children, we learn to cope because we don't know any better. As adults, we can deliberately adapt by assessing the situation and devising which behavior would best suit. And that's how you build your new habit. What is a habit, a thought, a feeling, word, or an action that you do the same way every time until it becomes second nature and you don't have to think about it anymore. You don't even have to look consciously for the stimulus anymore. But the stimulus will remind you. You get triggered, yes? And then you'll act. It'll become autopilot. So you see how powerful you are? So look at your situations. You don't look at a situation to beat yourself up, and that's not your cue. You don't look at your situation and go, cue inner insults, cue inner critic. No, you don't look at a situation to do that. You look at the situation to determine, is my behavior still appropriate? Is that still working for me? If not, what would work better? Well, that depends. How do you want to feel? And then, depending on how you want to feel, that's the behavior you choose to do over and over and over again until such time you just feel that way automatically. Because that's what you're doing now. So, today, recognize that the universe is a mental creation. You don't have to believe that it is, you have to observe it. What do you mean? But take a moment and you would recognize that you're always thinking about something. You are always aware of the fact that thoughts are running through your brain. That's what you're aware of. You are aware of thoughts running through your brain all the time. But some thoughts that you hear, you don't breathe life into those. Listen, you've got to weigh some of those thoughts. When you hear them, when you hear them, you're like, wait, what am I hearing? And then you hear it, you discern. You choose, is that thought going to be helpful to me and everybody else? What do I mean by that? I mean, sometimes we get thoughts that are unsavory, like hurt yourself. That thought should never be entertained. Well, why not? Because that's not actually how we think. We're not programmed to do based upon who was in control of our young minds at the time. But it is not our natural way of being. So if you are dealing with those thoughts, remember that is not your thought. That's what I mean when I say assess the thought that comes. You don't just go, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Wait, what? I learned that. Because my grandparents would always say, so if your friends tell you, let's go do this, let's go do that, you're going to say sure because you want to keep your friends? No, reassess what's more important. This is not a Homer Simpson situation where the cookie told me to. We don't act a fool. We don't do that. We are always in command of our mental faculties. That's what it means to truly be sovereign. To govern what? What do you think you're governing? What do you think you're ruling over? What do you think you're powerfully commanding? Somebody else? No. You are commanding yourself and your behavior, the way you think. That's what you have power over. And let me tell you something. That kind of power, that true power, does not seek to bend or break another, but it seeks to help the other be free. That's what true power is. That's what true power is. Not this illusion of power where it says, well, look, I'm bigger than you, so you better do what I tell. That is not power. You see, we might seek to rule the world, we can't rule ourselves. Remember what Daddy says. Charity begins at home. You must learn to rule yourself. But what? Your thoughts, your behaviors. Because remember, those behaviors stem from the thoughts. So watch your step. That's what we do. That is what we do. Take back your power. Ooh, cliche. Take back your power. Take back your control. This is why it's called self control. Because it is you. It is you. And you know, this is why I loved my granddaddy so much, because he just always seemed so rational, so black and white. He would say, you know, because he would listen and observe. He always did it since he was a small boy. He would observe people and their behaviors. He just would. Because that was his teacher. And when he looked at it, he would hear, and he would always say, man, you got people complaining about everything. It's not the thing to complain about. You don't complain about the thing. Assess the thing. Is it worthy of you? What do I mean by that? Because remember, now it's mental. It only is mental. Is that thing that you're doing sucking the life out of you, or is it giving you life? Don't get the two mixed up. Because life has a particular way. It has a pattern of life. It brings more life. So that thing that you're doing, is it bringing you life, or is it taking it away from you? Right? How are you going to know what it's doing if you complain? Oh man, my life sucks. Nah, life doesn't suck. Listen, life is just meant to be lived. Life is there, you live it. It doesn't care about feelings. Life, it is meant to be lived. You are the one who determines how to live. Think about that for a moment. Life, you have it, and you have it abundantly. The only thing you can do with life is live it. So now it's up to you. I learned this from a driving instructor. When you're parking on a hill, it is left up to you to get it down right the first time. So if you're parking on a hill, turn the tires left if you're upwards on the hill. If you're parking down on the hill, turn the tires all the way to the right to hit the curb. Left up to you to get it down right the first time. Next time you park, you'll know what I'm saying. On the hill. So it's left up to you how you want to live life. You see, because it is mental. You do not live life according to how this person, they do it that way. You're not them. You got to find your own way. So you see, life is nuanced. And I think I'm using it right. Life is nuanced. You can live it however you choose. But you see the law? Life will always follow law. So if you choose to live your life with the behaviors and habits of complaining and whining and moaning and hating your situation, according to law, you reap what you sow. So you have to continue doing it like that. But now, get a hold of yourself. Thoth says to shake it. Shake yourself. Snap out of it then. Because you're only in a habit, a state. That's all you're in. And it is you who breathes life into wherever you go. You. So what kind of life do you want to put in? Because life, you live. You live. You and I, we live. But what are we living? Life. So then it may stand to reason that life is inanimate. It's just there. Life is just there. But you, being the operant power, as Neville Goddard says, you're the one who decides how you're going to live it. Life can't beat you down. It does. Listen, life don't have arms and legs, and life does not lurk in the corner and go, oh look, there's Marquise. Oh look, there's Angela. That's not what life does. It is your perception of life, your mindset about life. So today, remember, life is waiting for you to live it. But how do we live? Mentally. We live mentally. And the way we live mentally causes the body to feel something. And when it feels, we speak. And when we speak, we act according to what? What we perceive. So you see how now it always follows law. It's not going to change. Rigid, you call it? Nah, predictable. And because it is predictable, you know how to bend it to your will. Yes. If you know that life is meant to be lived, and you know that it is your perception that causes you to choose your behaviors, well then, where's the solution? Your perception. Go there. That's why Neville Goddard says you can't break the mirror to change your face. The mirror is only the device used to reflect. That's all you're doing. You're just looking at the thing. Wayne Dyer says what? Let me see if I get it right. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change. Something along those lines. Exactly. So today, remember, my beautiful friends, that the universe is a mental creation. The all is mind. It begins in the mind and it ends there. These little actions that we do follow the law. So if you think that your life sucks and you are being punished and you are alone and nobody cares, it has to follow the law. Not because the law is mean and cruel and don't care about you. No, because that is its pattern, that is its habit, that's the way it does things. So you were the one who bends. By how? By recognizing, even though you can't see the law and touch it, you do observe it in action. It plays itself out. So when you know that everything is following your perception, you will see how powerful you are. And you will change your perception to do what? To live the type of life you want to live. This is why Neville says you cannot be conscious of being poor and want wealth. You have to, you're conscious of poor. You're conscious of poor. It's, listen, you rubbing your face in poor. You can't rub your face in poor and say, I am wealthy. You're contradicting yourself because you're only aware of that one thing. So what must you now become aware of in order to be it? Wealth. You have to become aware of the thing you want to be. That's why you're always asked the question, what do you want? What do you want to be? Once you become aware of that, now you'll make particular choices that match. The habits that you develop will match the thing you say you want to be. So you see, you are far more powerful than you think. And that is why a lot of work went into squishing yours and my perception, distorting it. Because it is known that if I just say something to you, if I whisper something to you and it triggers you, it makes you feel. See that? That makes you feel. You're going to act like that all the time because that is the nature of man. We move by way of the feeling. But if you don't consciously know that, if you just blindly follow it and you don't know any better, you will feel as though something is ruling me. No, you are ruling you. You just don't know that you're doing it. So let us take a brief moment, shall we, to welcome everyone into the space this morning. Mull over what I've been saying to you. Hey, driving. It's good to see you here on Twitter. Yes, it is. It's funny because people on Twitter catch the replay. I forget how many replays the message 2 days ago had. I think it was 70 replays. I just about toppled off my chair. I was like, 70? Where are all these people coming from? I'm like, I don't care where they come from. Just come and listen and learn and apply. So yeah, Twitter, you guys are rocking. YouTube and Facebook. Now, I don't see who's on Facebook because they haven't put themselves in the chat. But Cyber is here. The Better Man. Sugar Vision. Wealthy Supreme Rico's in the house. Asanya. The Better Man said he so needed this. You see how there's no voids? He wanted something and he got it. He wanted it and bam, there it was. This is what happened. And how did it happen? Naturally. Who's on Fanbase? You Dig Dance? Is that you? Memphis? Hey, Dua. Afternoon Delight is in the house. KZ, Stephanie, ZC, Oracle Treehouse, Flo Smiles, and Marquise. The Better Man, too. Meaning not the Better Man number 2, the Better Man also. TOO. Let's get that. Anywho, I trust today that when you go out into the world and you are faced with the old man, your old behavior, you will look at it and go, oh, that's a habit. I don't want to do that habit anymore. What habit would I prefer to do instead? Well, that depends. How you want to feel. What kind of man do you want to be? What kind of woman do you want to be? That will determine the habit you choose. And what is a habit? Thought, feeling, word, action that you do the same way every time. If you watch Karate Kid, wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. And he did it over and over and over again. Why? He goes, why am I only ever doing that? It's so boring. But then, when he came to the hand-to-hand combat with his master, with his instructor, and his master said, wax on, he did the motion of wax on. And then his instructor, his master said, wax off. He did the motion of wax off. And all of a sudden he could fight. You could always fight. You just didn't know. All he did was develop the habitual motion that he would put into play. That's what you and I are doing. So the next time you want to say foolish things like, oh my God, I can't do it. That's a habit. It's not who you actually are. It's just what you've conditioned yourself to be. So you see, I got the power. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. You do have the power. So what you gonna do with all that power now that you know that you have it? You can't beat anybody else with it. You might think that you can, but always remember you reap what you have sown. I'm just saying, keeps everybody on the up and up. So that's what it is. I trust today, my beautiful friends. Let me check the chat on Fanbase and see. Yes, Marquis. Any thought that doesn't multiply divides. Hey, hey, I like that. And God is about expanding the expression of the experience. You're waxing poetic, Marquise. Your poets begin to show, right? That's what it is. That's beautifully said. God is about expanding the expression of the experience, right? Let me get the bowl for us. Hey, Rone. I see you. I see you. Let me get the bowl because I don't want to keep you. And this one here right now, he's quiet. Yes, he's still sleeping a little bit. Don't let that one closed eye fool you. The other eye is wide open. Yes, I'm talking about you. Let me get that bowl. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Driving tea, thank you for being here on Twitter. And I'll see you tonight if you're available. 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What lecture are we reading tonight? We are reading By Imagination We Become. Oh, this one is from July 1951. You know this is going to be a good one. By imagination we become. That is tonight's lecture. 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Fanbase. So I'll see you tonight. All right, Twitter. Peace. Twitter is closed. Me cue the water. YouTube and Facebook, Ronay, Ray of Sunshine, Wealthy Supreme Rico, Cyber, The Better Man 1, Sugar Visions, Asanya. Thank you all for being here on this lovely day. I will see you tonight. I'll see you tonight. And remember, pre-order your Hermetic Oracle cards today. The pre-order link is directly under the description of this video. You'll see it in this very top one. It's the link on Fanbase. I'll see you tonight, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.